The stars were silent, but the darkness between them was screaming. Entire civilizations had fallen, their bright colonies reduced to ashes. The alien empire, a force no one had ever dared to challenge, had destroyed everything in its path. Ships larger than cities had been obliterated. Fleets that numbered in the thousands had been crushed without mercy. Humanity, once scattered across the galaxy, was believed to be extinct. No one thought a single human ship could survive. No one, except the crew of the Horizon. The Horizon was small compared to the massive alien warships, but it moved like a shadow through the void, silent and swift. Inside, the crew was tense but determined. They were not elite soldiers. They were ordinary humans with extraordinary courage. Captain Eric, the leader, leaned over the control panel, eyes scanning the holographic displays. His hands moved quickly, precise, as if every movement counted for survival, and it did. "Sensors are picking up multiple incoming ships," said Lyra, the navigator, her voice steady but tight. The console lit up with red blips, each one a looming threat. Aric's jaw tightened. He'd faced impossible odds before, but the scale of this fleet made even him pause. Hundreds of alien vessels surrounded them, stretching far into the distance. Like a dark storm cloud, every other human ship had fallen to this same enemy. But not the Horizon. Not yet. The aliens were fast, their weapons deadly. The Horizon's shields would not hold long if they were hit head-on. Eric made a decision, his voice calm but firm. "We don't run. We fight smart." The crew nodded, understanding what he meant. Outnumbered, outgunned, they had to rely on wit and unpredictability, human ingenuity. The first wave of alien ships approached. Moving in formation like predators circling prey, the Horizon darted to the side, barely dodging the initial barrage of energy beams. The crew's hands moved in rhythm with the ship's controls, a dance of life and death. Explosions lit up the darkness outside, flashes that made the metal of their ship tremble. Lyra whispered under her breath, "We can't keep dodging forever." Arik didn't respond immediately. His eyes were fixed on the approaching alien flagship. Something about it felt different. Unlike the others, it didn't. "Attack first," it observed, as if measuring the human ship. Arik knew then that the aliens had noticed something unusual in their tactics. Perhaps they were learning. "Prepare the countermeasures," he said finally. The crew moved swiftly, releasing decoy drones and activating energy pulses that distorted the Horizon's position. The alien ships fired again, this time striking, some decoys exploding in brilliant bursts. The Horizon slipped through the chaos, small size giving it an advantage the giant ships didn't expect. Inside the ship, tension was high. Every crew member knew the stakes. A single mistake could mean death, not just for them, but for the last hope of humanity. Yalin, the weapons officer, kept his hands steady on the control levers, adjusting the angle of the ship's pulse cannons. The beams of energy shot out, not to destroy, but to disable and confuse. One by one, smaller alien ships were knocked off course. Spinning helplessly in the vacuum of space, Captain Lyra called, "The flagship it's maneuvering to flank us." Arik took a deep breath. This was the moment where fear could either paralyze or sharpen the mind. "We lure it into the asteroid field. It's fast, but it can't navigate like us." The Horizon changed course, heading toward a dense field of asteroids that glowed faintly from distant stars. The alien flagship followed, larger and slower, its confidence almost arrogant. The smaller ships hesitated, some breaking formation. Unsure of whether to follow, the Horizon weaved through the asteroids, engines straining, metal groaning under sudden maneuvers. Explosions behind them shook the hull as the aliens collided, with rocks unprepared for such sudden agility. The human crew worked as one, each decision instinctive, each movement precise. Even in this chaos, there was a strange beauty, a dance of survival against overwhelming odds. As the Horizon cleared the asteroid field, the aliens regrouped. The flagship's sensors had adapted, predicting human movements. It fired a concentrated beam that split the darkness like lightning. The Horizon's shields flared, absorbing part of the strike, but a ripple of heat ran across the hull. The crew held their breath, feeling the impact. The ship shuddered, but it held. "Status?" Arik demanded. "Shields at 60%, replied the engineer, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We can take another hit, but not two." Eric's mind raced. They needed a plan, something unexpected. Something no alien could predict. And then he saw a small, uncharted route through the debris of destroyed colonies nearby. A risky path, but one that could turn the battle. "Prepare for course Delta," he ordered. "We're taking the shortcut through the fallen systems." The crew exchanged glances, knowing this meant flying through ruins of destroyed human colonies. It was dangerous, but it was their only chance. The Horizon sped forward, weaving through wreckage, sparks of old explosions still lingering in space. The aliens followed, confident that humans would die like the rest. But the Horizon was not like the rest. As the ship moved, strange readings appeared on the sensors, residual energy from old human experiments. Traps set long ago and unknown anomalies in the debris. Arik grinned slightly, seeing the opportunity. "Use the environment," he said simply. "Make them pay for underestimating us." Outside, the alien fleet moved like a storm, but inside, the Horizon was calm, calculated, and alive. Battle was far from over, but for the first time in years, humanity had hope. One ship against an empire, and it would not fall, not yet. The Horizon continued through the stars. The red blips of the alien fleet growing closer, but the crew's determination only strengthened. They had survived before, they would survive. Again, and somewhere in the darkness, the aliens noticed something unusual. This was not a normal human ship. There was something different here, something they could not predict, something that might just change everything. The battle was only beginning, and already the universe was whispering the name of one small ship that refused to die. The alien fleet did not slow down. In the cold darkness of space, their formation tightened like a net closing on a single prey. Every sensor aboard the Horizon screamed with warnings. The air inside the human ship was tense, every breath heavy with the weight of what was coming. "Captain." Eric stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the tactical display. Red dots moved in from all directions. These were not the weaker patrol ships from before. This was the core strike force of the alien Empire warships, with weapons powerful enough to split moons in half. "They're locking weapons," said Lyra, her voice calm but her fingers moving fast across the controls. She was always calm, but her eyes betrayed the tension she felt. "Hold your fire," Eric said. His voice was steady, the kind of steady that comes from knowing there's no safe way out, only a smarter way through. "Make them think we're running scared." Horizon began to move away, its engines pushing hard. To the aliens, it might look like a desperate retreat. In reality, it was a calculated step. Arik wanted them to follow. The first barrage came, a wave of blue plasma bolts cutting through the void. The Horizon banked sharply, slipping between the glowing streams of destruction. Even so, a few bolts scraped the shields, sending a deep hum through the hull. Yalin, at the weapons station, gritted his teeth. "We can't just keep dodging forever." Arik didn't answer right away. He was watching the enemy movements, the way they flew in perfect, predictable patterns. The aliens were flawless in formation, but flawless could be a weakness. Humans didn't fight in perfect lines. They adapted. They improvised. "Bring the cannons online," Arik ordered. "Target their engines, not their guns." The Horizon spun in a wide arc, catching the alien ships by surprise. Pulse cannons fired in quick bursts, sharp flashes that lit up the dark. One alien ship jerked violently as its engines failed, spinning out of formation. Another lost power entirely, drifting helplessly. "They're recalculating," Lyra said. "Good," Arik replied. "Let them think they've got us cornered." The aliens were learning faster than expected. Second wave closed in, faster and tighter than the first. The flagship loomed behind them now, its dark surface glinting faintly in the starlight. A deep, vibrating sound echoed through the horizon's hullet with some kind of alien frequency. Like a predator's growl before the strike. They're charging something big, the engineer warned. If that hits us, it won't. Eric cut her off. His mind was already moving ahead. Yolone, load the EMP torpedoes. Aim for that flagship's starboard side. That'll drop their shields, Yolone said, but we'll be wide open for the others. Eric gave a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. Exactly. The horizon dived low, skimming dangerously close to a massive chunk of asteroid. The alien flagship adjusted course, staying locked on them. Smaller ships tightened the circle, ready to strike, but as the flagship drew within range, Yolone fired. The EMP torpedoes streaked through space and detonated in a burst of blue light. The flagship's shields flickered and died. A split second, the massive vessel was exposed. Now, Ark shouted. The Horizon's main cannons roared to life. Striking the flagship's side, armor tore away, fire spilling into space. But the victory was short energy blasts from the surrounding ships slammed into the Horizon, shaking the entire vessel. The crew held on as alarms screamed. Shields at 30%, the engineer yelled. The Horizon swerved hard, escaping the worst of the barrage, but the aliens were angry now. They poured fire into the area, chasing the humans with relentless precision. We can't take another hit like that, Lyra warned. Eric's eyes narrowed. We won't head for that debris field. Ahead lay the broken remains of a destroyed station, fragments of metal drifting like the bones of a dead giant. It was dangerous, sharp wreckage, unstable structures, but it also offered cover. The Horizon darted inside, weaving between twisted beams and shattered walls. The alien ships followed, but the tight quarters worked against them. Two ships collided, their hulls tearing apart in a violent explosion. The humans moved like ghosts, slipping from shadow to shadow, striking only when the enemy left an opening. Still, the flagship stayed on them, relentless, its damaged side. Smoked in the darkness, but it refused to fall. It was more than just a warship. It was the Empire's pride. Destroying it would mean more than survival. It would mean sending a message. Arik knew this battle was far from over. They had hurt the enemy, but the enemy was adapting. And the Horizon's crew was running out of time, energy, and luck. Somewhere deep inside the ship, the hum of the engine steadied again. The crew exchanged quick glances. They had been here before, pinned down, outnumbered, running on scraps. And somehow, every time, they had found a way to win. The alien fleet tightened formation again. The next attack was coming, and it would be the deadliest yet, and still. The Horizon didn't fall. The Horizon drifted in the quiet aftermath of the battle, its hull scarred, its shields running low. The crew moved quickly, repairing systems and rerouting power where they could. The stars outside looked calm again, but everyone on board knew it was only the calm before the next storm. The alien fleet was still out there, hunting them. Day would not stop until the last human ship was gone. Captain, I'm picking up something strange, Lyra said from her station. Her voice was cautious, almost uncertain. It's a signal. It's very faint, but it's not alien. At least, not entirely. Arik walked over, his eyes narrowing at the display. The signal was old, distorted, almost buried in the noise of space. But there was a pattern to it, sharp, deliberate, and familiar. It's using an old human code. Lyra continued. This one hasn't been used for decades. The colonies stopped transmitting on it long before the war started. Yelen leaned back from the weapons console. So what, another survivor? Rebate, Arik replied. His voice was low, but the weight in it was enough to silence the bridge for a moment. The alien empire was ruthless, but they were also clever. If they knew humans would respond to an old distress signal, it would be the perfect trap, the signal. Pulsed again, coming from deep inside a nearby nebula. On the tactical map, the nebula was a swirling cloud of blue and violet, a living storm in space. Its gases bent light and distorted sensors. No ship entered it without risk. We can't. Fight in there, Yolone warned. Our targeting will be useless. And so will theirs, Eric countered. That's why it's worth the risk. If there's a survivor in there, we find them. If it's a trap, we make them regret it. Like the horizon adjusted course. Heading toward the glowing cloud. The alien fleet stayed behind for now, as if waiting to see what the humans would do. It made Eric uneasy. The idea of being watched without being chased was somehow worse than open combat. As they approached the nebula, the light outside shifted. Colors rippled across the hull. Faint static began to hum through the coms. The moment they crossed into the cloud, the stars vanished. It was like stepping into a dream, shadows moving where nothing should be. Streaks of light that faded the moment they were noticed. The crew fell silent, eyes scanning their stations. Navigation became harder with each passing second. Sensors returned nonsense phantom ships that appeared and disappeared. Readings of planets that didn't exist. Captain Lyra whispered, "I'm getting movement. Multiple contacts." "They're everywhere." "Hold steady," Arik said, though even he felt the weight of the strange space pressing down on them. Eyes open. "We're blind in here." Then, without warning, a shape emerged from the Mista ship, small and battered, its hull marked with human symbols. It drifted slowly, no lights, no heat signature, life signs. Arik asked. Lyra's fingers danced over the controls. One, weak. Very weak. The horizon crept closer, the silence in the nebula pressing in like a physical thing. When they were within range, Yalin extended the docking clamps. The hull of the stranger's ship groaned under the connection, as if it might fall apart at any second. Eric and two others moved to the airlock, weapons ready. The hatch opened with a hiss, revealing the dark interior of the ship. It smelled of metal, burnt circuits, and something older like a place long abandoned in the cockpit. They found a lone figure slumped in the chair wearing a torn and faded human uniform. He was alive, barely. His eyes fluttered open as Arik knelt beside him. "There." Watching, the man whispered, his voice raw. "There inside. The nebula." Before Arik could ask more, the man's body went still. A sudden alarm blared on the horizon. Lyra's voice came through the comm. "Captain, ship's lots of them. They just appeared out of nowhere." Outside, the mist of the nebula shifted again, and dark shapes emerged from it. Alien ships, smaller than warships but faster, designed for ambush. They moved like shadows in water. Weaving through the gas clouds, the horizon's engines roared to life as the crew scrambled to battle. Stations. Weapons fired blindly into the shifting haze, flashes of light cutting through the mist. The alien ships returned fire, their shots vanishing into the gas before striking without warning. This is their hunting ground, Arik realized aloud. They've been luring ships in here for years. The nebula seemed to pulse around them. Now, a living cage. The horizon had to fight without sight, without clear readings, relying only on instinct and quick reactions. The crew's hands moved faster, each choice, life or death. Then Eric saw on the map, faint and flickering, a narrow path through the nebula. It wasn't on any chart. It was probably unstable, but it was their only chance. Lyra plot a course through that gap. "Full power to engines," Eric ordered. The horizon surged forward. Weaving through the glowing haze, alien fire streaking past them. The pursuing ships followed, but the narrow path forced them to break formation. That was all the humans needed. JLEN. Fired a spread of mines into the trail behind them. Explosions rippled through the clouds, scattering the alien ships. The horizon burst out of the nebula into open space, the stars shining once again. The alien ships didn't follow. The nebula swallowed them back into its strange, shifting depths. On the bridge, the crew caught their breath. They had escaped. But the warning of the dying man echoed in Eric's mind. They're inside the nebula. The alien empire wasn't just chasing them anymore. It was setting traps. And the next one might be even worse. The horizon floated at the edge of the nebula, its hull scorched, its shields weak. The crew was still catching their breath after the escape. The strange man they had rescued was gone, but his final words clung to every thought there inside the nebula. No one spoke for a while. The silence was heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. Captain Lyra said finally, her voice low. We should keep moving. If they tracked us here, they did, Arik interrupted. His tone wasn't angry, just certain. He stood in the center of the bridge, staring at the tactical display. They're letting us think we escaped. They want us to run so they can push us where they want us to go. Yalan looked up from the weapons console.
Where's that?
Eric's eyes shifted to a cluster of red icons flashing at the edge of the map. Straight into their jaws. The Horizon's long-range sensors had picked up something massive ahead, an alien blockade. Dozens of ships in perfect formation. Their weapons already powered. It wasn't a patrol. This was a trap. Waiting for one ship. Waiting for them. The choice was simple, but brutal. Turn back into the nebula, where unseen hunters waited, or face the blockade head-on. Arik's voice was calm. We break the blockade. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but no one argued. They had been outnumbered before. It was becoming their way of life. The Horizon accelerated, its engines burning bright. The alien ships reacted instantly, shifting, to form a closing wall. Energy beams lit the void, streaking toward the human ship. The Horizon dove between the first two ships, sliding past the incoming fire with meters to spare. Shields at 70%. The engineer called out. Yalan returned fire, not trying to destroy the blockade, but to throw it into chaos. Precision shots disabled engines, targeting sensors, and comms. The alien formation wavered. But they recovered quickly, moving to encircle the Horizon. They're hurting us, Lyra said, watching the map. Let them think they're winning, Arik replied. His eyes darted to a massive asteroid drifting just behind the blockade. It was cracked in half, glowing faintly from mineral veins inside. It's an idea formed dangerous, maybe even suicidal. But it might be their only shot. He keyed the comm. Engineering, prep the overcharge. We're going to run hot. The engineer's voice came back, tense. Captain, that'll fry half our systems. If it works, we'll still have a ship to fix, Arik said. The Horizon changed course, diving straight for the asteroid. Alien ships followed, pouring fire into the human vessel. The hull groaned under the strain, sparks bursting from panels. On the bridge, Jalen looked at Arik. We're heading straight into a rock. That's the idea. At the last second, Arik gave the order. Overcharge now. The Horizon's engines flared white-hot, releasing a shockwave of energy. The burst slammed into the asteroid, cracking it further until the glowing mineral veins ignited in a chain reaction. The explosion tore through space. A wave of fire and debris ripping into the alien blockade. The Horizon plunged through the chaos. Using the explosion's force to boost its speed, alien ships spun out of formation, colliding with one another. In the confusion, shields at 20%. The engineer shouted, but we're clear. The crew held on to their stations as the ship tore through the last of the blockade, debris bouncing off the hull. When the stars settled again, the alien ships were far behind, their formation broken. The Horizon had slipped through. The bridge was filled with the sound of heavy breathing and flickering consoles. No one celebrated yet. They had survived, but they all knew the aliens wouldn't stop. They had seen what the humans could do when cornered. Arik looked at the dark space ahead, his thoughts already on the next move. We just bought ourselves time, he said quietly. Nothing more. Behind them, in the shattered remains of the blockade, alien ships began to regroup. The hunt wasn't over. It was only getting more desperate. The Horizon limped through the dark, its engines running unevenly after the blockade run. The crew worked in silence, repairing what they could. Sparks still hissed from damaged panels, and the faint smell of burnt metal lingered in the air. Every movement felt heavy or known, just from exhaustion, but from the weight of knowing the alien empire would not rest until they were gone. Power grid is holding at 60%, the engineer reported. Weapons are online, but shields are fragile. Arik stood at the center of the bridge, looking at the map. The alien fleet was scattered but moving to regroup. They had been hurt but not stopped. Soon they'd come again, stronger than... Before Lyra broke the silence. Captain, I have a chance to even the odds. Arik turned toward her. Go on. She brought up a cluster of signal-steiny scattered energy readings in a nearby sector. These are old human mining stations. Abandoned before the war? If we can get there, we might be able to salvage equipment, maybe even weapons. Shalon leaned forward. If they're still intact, we could rig something nasty. Turn their own tech against them. Eric studied the readings. It was risky. The stations were deep inside a volatile asteroid belt, hard to navigate and even harder to fight in. But it was also the last place the aliens would expect a counterattack to start. Set a course, he said finally. The horizon slid into the asteroid belt, weaving between tumbling rocks the size of cities. The wreckage of old mining operations drifted in the dark broken solar panels, hollow storage containers, and rusted machinery. The belt was quiet, almost too quiet. Inside one of the largest asteroids, they found a massive hollow space, carved out decades ago, filled with the remains of human industry. The crew moved quickly, searching for anything useful. Jalen's voice came through the cum. Captain, you're going to want to see this. Arik followed him into a dark chamber, where rows of long, cylindrical devices sat, covered in dust. They weren't standard mining tools. They were heavy-duty electromagnetic rail cannons, designed for blasting or apart from a distance. Crude, outdated, but powerful. They'll never see it coming, Yalin said with a grin. Over the next hours, the crew worked to mount the cannons directly to the horizon's hull. The engineer adapted the targeting systems, Lyra calibrated power feeds, and Yalin tested the firing sequence. It wasn't elegant, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to work once. The trap was set. When the alien scouts finally found them, they came in fast 3 sleek ships, darting between asteroids. The Horizon fired its standard pulse cannons first, drawing the enemy in closer. Then, when the aliens moved into position, Arik gave the order. Fire the railguns. The old weapons roared to life, launching solid metal slugs at incredible speed. The asteroids themselves seemed to shake with the impact. 2 alien ships were torn apart instantly, their hulls shredded by the kinetic force. The third barely escaped, fleeing back into the belt. On the bridge, the crew exchanged stunned looks. It had worked. Lyra turned to Arik. They won't underestimate us again. Arik gave a thin smile. Good. Let them be afraid. Hours later, the alien fleet reappeared on sensors, but they didn't charge. They held their distance, moving cautiously, scanning every asteroid as if expecting a hidden weapon. For the first time in the war, the alien empire wasn't chasing the humans out of arrogance. They were watching them out of fear. The Horizon had shown them something new, that humans didn't need to match alien technology to win. They just needed to fight on their own terms. The crew felt the shift too. They were no longer just surviving. They were starting to fight back. And far away, deep in the alien command ship, a new order was given. Eliminate the Horizon at all costs. The Horizon moved through the cold stretch of space, its new weapons hidden under armored plates. The crew's spirits were higher now. For the first time since the war began, they had made the enemy step back. Still, Arik knew the danger hadn't passed. Fear made enemies cautious, but it also made them desperate. Captain Lyra said from her station, "We've picked up a transmission. Not alien, it's coming from a nearby moon." Arik walked over.
House.
The signal was clean, steady, and unmistakably not hostile. It carried the same human code they had found in the nebula, but this one was strong, modern, and clear. JALEN raised. An eyebrow? Another survivor? Someone pretending to be one? Arik said. The transmission repeated. Human ship Horizon. This is the Free Star Alliance. We have safe harbor, supplies, and reinforcements. Respond. The Free Star Alliance was a name from before the war, rumored to be a coalition of human colonies that stayed hidden from the alien empire. Most believed they were a myth. If this was real, it could be the break the crew needed. After a short discussion, Arik gave the order. Plot a course, but keep weapons ready. The Horizon approached the moon cautiously. Small station came into view, its hull patched with mismatched panels antennas bristling from every surface. The airlock opened without delay, and a welcoming voice came over the coms. "Dock and rest, friends. You've been through enough." Inside the station, the crew was met by uniformed humans, smiling, offering food and fresh supplies. The air smelled clean, the corridors warm. For a moment, it felt like stepping back into a world that no longer existed. The station's commander, a tall man named Rallen, shook Eric's hand firmly. "We've been tracking your fight. The Horizon is more than just a ship now. It's a symbol. The Empire fears you, and we want to help." It sounded good. Too good. They shared food, traded stories, and discussed the alien threat. Rallen spoke of hidden fleets, old technology, and safe colonies far from the front lines. But when Arik asked to see this hidden fleet, the man hesitated. "Trust takes time," Rallen said. "For now, let us help you repair. You've earned some peace." The next hours passed quietly. The crew spread out across the stations, some working with technicians to refit the Horizon. But Arik's unease grew. The warmth felt forced, the smiles too perfect. He noticed cameras in every corridor, doors that locked automatically once closed. That night, if it could be called night in space, Lyra found him in the docking bay. Her face was pale. "Captain, you need to see this." She handed him a datapad. It was a maintenance log, except it wasn't about repairs. It was a systems override, rerouting the Horizon's navigation controls directly to the station's command center. If they undocked, they wouldn't be flying free. They'd be flying wherever the station told them. Before Eric could respond, the alarms blared. Doors slammed shut around the docking bay. Over the comms, Raylan's voice was calm but cold. "You've done well against the Empire," he said. "But you can do more. Under our command. From this moment on, the Horizon belongs to the Free Star Alliance." The crew scrambled back toward the ship, fighting against security teams that appeared from every side corridor. The station's soldiers moved with practiced efficiency. They had done this before. Yalan fired a stun blast at one guard, clearing a path to the airlock. "So much for allies," he shouted. Eric didn't waste time answering. They rushed aboard. The Horizon, sealing the hatch's weapons fire, echoed against the hull. The station's systems tried to override their controls, but the engineer slammed manual locks into place. "Engines hot," she yelled. The Horizon tore away from the docking clamps, alarms blaring through the bridge. And behind them, the stations. Weapons opened fire, bolts of plasma streaking past. The crew fired back with the new railguns, forcing the station's defenses to pull back. They broke free into open space, engines burning hard. No one spoke until the station was just another speck of light behind them. Finally, Arik said, "That wasn't the Empire. That was Usar own people." Yalan shook his head. "Makes you wonder if the aliens are the only enemy left." The Horizon flew on into the dark, now hunted not only by the alien empire, but also by humans who wanted to control them. The Horizon was alone again, drifting through the deep black between stars. After the betrayal on the station, trust felt like a memory. The crew spoke less now, their focus on repairs and quiet routines. Every sound on the bridge was the click of controls, the hum of engines, the faint buzz of damaged circuits still waiting for attention, but the silence didn't last. "Contact," Lyra said, her voice steady, but her hands tightening on the controls. Multiple ships, far-edged sensors, closing fast. Arik moved to her side. The tactical map lit up with a swarm of red markers. Not a patrol, not a blockade. This was the entire alien armada stretching across the map like a wave of fire. Hundreds of ships, from nimble interceptors to massive dreadnoughts, all converging on one point: the Horizon. They're done playing. Yalan muttered from the weapons station. Eric's eyes locked on the display. No more traps, no more. Hurting this, is it the final push to wipe us out? The engineer's voice came from the com. "Captain, the ship can't take that kind of fight. Last minutes at most." "Then we make those minutes count," Arik said. The alien fleet advanced, their formation tightening. Long-range weapons began to light the void, bolts of energy tearing toward the horizon. The crew moved in perfect sync, Lyra weaving between the incoming fire, Yalan striking back with railguns. The engineer rerouting every last bit of power into shields and weapons. The first wave hit hard. The horizon's hull shuddered, metal groaning under the force. Warnings lit up across every console. But each time they were hit, they struck back, crippling one ship, then another. We're forcing the aliens to adjust. They're trying to box us. Lyra said. Arik studied the pattern. Then we break the box. He pointed to a narrow gap in the alien formation, a dangerous path between two dreadnoughts. The space was so tight that one wrong move would mean instant destruction. But if they made it through, they could strike at the heart of the fleet. The crew didn't hesitate. The horizon surged forward, engines screaming. Alien fire lit up the darkness, tracing the ship's path. The gap closed as the dreadnoughts turned their guns toward them. Brace, Arik shouted. The horizon slipped between the giants' clothes. Enough for the crew to see the glowing weapon ports and armored plating slide past the windows. Yalan fired point-blank into one dreadnought's engine bay, the railgun slug tearing it apart in a flash of molten metal. The explosion shook the second dreadnought, buying them the seconds they needed to break through. They were in the center of the alien fleet, now surrounded. But with a clear shot at the massive command carrier that directed the entire armada, it loomed ahead like a city in space, bristling with weapons. Target the carrier's come array, Arik ordered. Blind them. Jalan's shots tore into the carrier's hull, shredding antenna arrays and sensor dishes. The alien fleet hesitated, their formations faltering without central coordination. But the victory came at a cost. A direct hit slammed into the horizon's side, tearing open a section of the hull. The bridge lights flickered, and for a heartbeat. The ship was almost dead in the water, shields gone, the engineer called. We can't take another hit like that. We're not here, Titaned. We're not here to survive. We're here to make sure they never forget us. He keyed the comm to the entire ship. This is it. Every weapon we have. Fire at will. The horizon unleashed everything: railguns, pulse cannons, EMP torpedoes turning the center of the alien fleet into a storm of explosions. The command. Carrier burned, its hull splitting apart. Alien ships scattered in the chaos, unsure whether to attack or flee. But more were coming. The tide was turning back, the swarm closing in again. The horizon was out of tricks, out of cover, and nearly out of time. Lyra looked at Arik. One last move? He nodded slowly. What? One last move. Outside, the alien fleet tightened the circle. Inside, the horizon prepared for the most dangerous maneuver it had ever attempted. The final stand had begun. The alien fleet closed in from all sides, their weapons lighting the darkness like a cage made of fire. The horizon floated in the center, engines running hot, hull scarred and shields gone. Every console on the bridge was flashing warnings. There was no more running. Arik stood at the center of it all, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Swarm around them was tightening, hundreds of ships moving in perfect mechanical unison. The galaxy had seen this before, overwhelming force crushing its enemies without mercy. Every fleet that had stood here before had fallen, but no fleet had ever been human. Engines at maximum, the engineer reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. Weapons on emergency power. We've got one shot before we burn out everything. Arik's voice was calm. That's all we need. Lyra's hands hovered over navigation controls. Of course, Arik pointed at the largest ship in the fleet, the alien command dreadnought. It's bigger than a city, its surface bristling with weapon arrays. Straight through the heart. Yalan grinned despite the situation. I like it. The horizon roared. To life surging forward toward the dreadnought. Alien ships moved to intercept, but Arik didn't slow. The railguns fired, each shot tearing a hole in the enemy lines. Smaller ships exploded in flashes of light, debris spinning into the void. Aliens fired back in a storm of plasma bolts and energy beams. The horizon weaved between them, Lyra pushing the ship to its limits. The hull screamed under the strain, but the path ahead stayed open, Approaching firing range, Yalin called. Target the dreadnought's core, Eric ordered. They knew. It wouldn't destroy the entire fleet, but it would cripple the Empire's command and send a message the galaxy would never forget. The Horizon's weapons lit up, pounding the dreadnought's shields. Sparks flared across its surface, armor plates shattering under the railgun slugs. But the dreadnought struck back, its main cannon charged, a massive beam building to unleash its power. The engineer's voice came through, urgent, if that. Beam hits us, we're done. Eric's eyes narrowed. Then we don't let it fire. He activated the comm to the entire ship. All hands brace for ramming speed. Gasps echoed through the bridge, but no one hesitated. The Horizon's engines flared white-hot, the ship accelerating toward the dreadnought's firing port. Alarms screamed as heat levels spiked. Panels sparking under the strain, the alien cannon fired a split second to lay the Horizon slammed. Into the barrel, the impact tearing metal apart in a deafening explosion. The bridge shook violently, lights going dark as systems failed one by one through the viewport. The crew saw the dreadnought's core ignite, a blinding chain reaction. Racing through its massive frame, the explosion ripped through the center of the alien fleet, the shockwaves scattering ships in every direction. Silence followed. The fleet was broken. Horizon drifted, crippled, but still intact. On the bridge, the crew slowly looked around, at each other, realizing they were still alive. They're retreating, Lyra said softly, almost in disbelief. The whole fleet, they're pulling back. Yolan leaned back in his chair, exhausted. Yes, they finally learned humans don't know when to quit. Eric said nothing for a moment, watching the last of the alien ships vanish into the darkness. Finally, he spoke. Signal every channel. Let them know humanity's not finished. Not today. The Horizon turned slowly, its engines flickering but holding. They were battered, scarred, and running on the last reserves of power, but they had done the impossible. Somewhere out there, the alien empire was regrouping. They would come again. But the galaxy had seen what one human ship could do, and legends had a way of spreading faster than fear. The Horizon moved on into the stars. Unbroken, carrying with it the story of the day the last human ship refused to fall.